No, I'm not brave enough for politics. That's what I got. That's my quote. Welcome back, everybody, to another Happy Landing. Tanner and I filming back to back here. Thank you to Steve, Kimberly, Karen, the Movie Mill patrons. Go get some merch. We're just going to jump into it here. This will probably be a shorter episode like last week. We're reviewing Rebels, so it's tends to be shorter when we're reviewing the shows. But season 2, I don't understand why I told Tanner that it was 15 episodes. It's a good 22. I'm just an idiot. So season 2 of Rebels. Tanner, let's just jump into it here. What did you think of season 2?
Season 2 is so good.
It's so good. It is really freaking good.
Oh my gosh. It is just from like beginning to end. It's just incredible. Oh, something I totally forgot to say to you for season 1. I actually really like Chopper. I really do. Olivia just adores him. At first I was like, okay, this is gonna be like a stupid R2 that we're just
not
gonna get attached to, but like he's a crotchety, crusty droid that is like the antithesis of R2, and I love it. Also the sound design of like I don't know. I really enjoy it.
I'll tell you this. The first time, so I watched Rebels in like 2016. No, it was later than that, when the show ended in like 2018 or something, because it was getting close to ending. I had never watched it. My old boss convinced me to watch it, and I hated Chopper. I hated Chopper from start to finish. I don't hate him as much in this rewatch. I think at least through these first 2 seasons, when they do these kind of more Chopper episodes, which they really don't do a lot of. I remembered more than this. Maybe it's in season 3, but those I'm not fans of. But what Chopper is, for the most part, fine for me. I don't hate him. I'm not swooning over him. I don't mind his sound design. It's grown on me a little bit, and the way he's really used for the most part as like when we need the ship, Chopper's here. If we need to separate the crew, so he's grown on me a little.
He's not excessively used like the droids in Clone Wars.
No, which I appreciate. But he has grown on me, mainly because he's not used as poorly as I remembered. But granted, I also am out here telling you wrong season episode numbers, so who knows what my memory tells. Maybe I just made up things about Chopper.
Dude, Siege of Lothal.
Yeah, no, this season opens up just on fire. I mean, Siege of Lothal Part 1 and 2 is awesome. Awesome episodes. And then you go right into the Lost Commanders. Are you kidding me? And we get our boys. We get our main boy. Oh my gosh. When Rex shows up, I love that they're on their own little like walker. Like the fight they get in is like Mad Max Star Wars style. It's awesome.
Dude, it's a bunch of clones just chilling out on a bungalow walker. I love it so much.
It's awesome. And I love Kanan being so against them. And then, it was one thing watching that back in the day, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. But then you just watch Bad Batch episode 1, and you're like, okay, so the clones really scarred this kid. Like, we got to see it. Right. That's when I like when Dave Filoni connects everything. I think that is a connection that works, kind of like Lando in season 1. I think that's a good connection. But these episodes they open with are fire. They are so freaking good. Honestly, it's like the first, because Always 2 is a really good episode. So honestly, the first 5 I think are real standouts. And then the Brothers of Broken Horn Horn with Hondo.
I still love Hondo. Fine. I still love Hondo. So I mean, like he's the Jack Sparrow of the Star Wars universe so far. Yeah, I'm all about that.
And 7 I think is an okay episode, but I like that we get some time with Hera really for the first time so far during the show. Hera by the end of this episode, like this season, I am so in love with Hera. Like, she is so, not that I wasn't before, but like, man, I love that they made the pilot a female, like, take nothing, no holds barred kind of
Yep.
Yeah, she is awesome. The Blood Sisters I thought was in the same boat. It was a solid episode, an okay episode, but we got to flesh out Sabine a little bit.
Yeah, it was fun.
Which I liked. And then you get to Stealth Strike. I thought was starting to. They kind of just do that. They're kind of just fleshing out everybody for like 3 episodes. But
Stealth
honestly,
Strike was fun though. Between like Kanan going back like, I'm gonna go rescue my friend. He's like, he's your friend.
Yeah, and when Ezra shoots them. And stuns them, and he just realizes what he's done is so funny. And that's a time I really like Chopper showing up. When Chopper plays the hologram, that's a time that Chopper works really well for me.
Oh, he's like, oh no, you guys did so good and got knocked out. And he's like, oh, it didn't feel like it. He just comes in, it's like, no. Let me show you the real story here.
Yeah. So The Future of the Force, I think, is a good episode, but I think the name, like when I saw the title, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm geared up for a great Force episode. And then it's not necessarily that, but let me tell you, Legacy might be one of my top 3 episodes so far in this show. I loved Legacy. Ezra going back to Lothal, meeting what was he? He was the governor of Lothal.
Previous governor, yeah. That was
meeting him, voiced by our boy. I can't remember his name. Clancy something, I believe, but he's like the voice of Mr. Krabs. Like he's in everything animation. I love all that. I love the arc with Ezra. Him learning finally about his parents. Doing what JJ and Kathleen didn't have the balls to do. Kill the parents and let it be okay.
Right.
It makes his arc so freaking good to me. It is the moment where you start to see the anger in Ezra that plays for the rest of this season, and I'm a few episodes into season 3 already, right into season 3, and I am here for it. I am having so much fun with this show right now.
Yeah.
So Legacy I think is great, and then you jump right into our princess of
Lothal.
Princess.
Love it.
Real quick, shout out. We're not only getting they announced a ton of actors and actresses who are getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, including RIP to our princess. Carrie Fisher's going to be getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Heck yes.
To Carrie.
Heck yes.
And Obi-Wan Kenobi himself is also getting one. Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there's also some other big heavy hitters, but that's not for the Star Wars show. But this episode I actually really liked, and they do what. This is the genius of Dave Filoni. He sat in that room and was like, I want you to do the exact same thing that you see in A New Hope. Because she kind of shows up, looks like she's about to be a damsel in distress. Ezra and Kanan are kind of like, here's the plan. And she's like, no, here's the plan. And then her plan goes sideways. And I like that she's still confident about it. She's sitting in the cockpit and she's like, I guess we're going to need a new plan. But she doesn't.
Also, it's like she comes in and she's like, I mean, this was my first plan. Like she's up. She's like, no, I'm taking command. Oh, they nail her character.
They nail her.
Oh,
they nail her.
So
who voiced her? Do you know?
I don't know actually. Let me see if I can look that up.
While you're doing that, and I like when she says we need a new plan. She doesn't say, boys, come up with a plan. She says, we need a new plan. Like, we're all in this together. We're going to come up with a plan. She comes up with a really great plan later. She adds things to it. She is so... This is done, the connection done right. Mm-hmm. It's so good. And the fact that the Princess Leia, though, it is a little rule breaking. It's like, okay, she now knows about the Jedi and lightsabers. I mean, I'm sure she heard about it from her dad, but in the context of the movies, we had never really seen that her be aware of it. Right. Did you find who voiced her?
Oh, not Princess Leia. Julie Dolan.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
I have no idea either. I'm gonna look up her IMDb. Excuse me. She was in basketball.
Okay, so she just played her in Rebels, it looks like. Nothing
Yep.
too. Okay, because the voice sounded so good. I thought maybe
Right.
she had voiced her somewhere else, but she did a great job. She did a great job. Sounded just like Carrie to me. To the point. That's why I asked. I thought, did they bring Carrie in back in the day, or was that Billy, her daughter? Um, so moving off of that, so that episode is just so good. And
Legacy
then you get
is great. The only kicker, I really wish that we had gotten to actually like witness. Well,
witness their death. You
not.
psycho.
I know I'm a psycho. I'm not crazy about seeing it off screen or like having it happen off screen though. I just would have liked something that gives a little bit more confirmation. Maybe maybe this is just me from like Game of Thrones of like, if you don't see the character die on screen, they're not actually dead.
Yeah, but this show is wrapped and we know they're dead.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, I don't know, in the time, you know what I mean? But anyways, but Princess of Lothal, I didn't, when I was initially watching that, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. But like, because initially, upon my first watch, way back when, was like seeing Princess Leia come on, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But dude, they do her such justice, and I'm so happy about that. But anyways, you were saying, moving on to Protector of Concord Dawn.
Yeah, I think from episode 13 through 17 are all just solid episodes. I think they're fun. They don't necessarily feel too kiddish. I like the call. I like Homecoming. I like the honorable ones. I like getting Zeb fleshed out a little bit more, and he does find people from his planet, and he's very I like this whole prophecy thing, like the moment where he's like, wait, I'm the kid? I wanted to be the warrior. It's such a good, like, that's Star Wars humor to me,
Right.
and it works. Did any of those episodes stand out to you?
Legends of Lasat. I don't know what there was just something really cool of them coming in and being like, oh, there are many other things that other beings call the Force. The Force takes.
I liked that moment too.
The
way Kanan delivers it, I think, is really good. Where he's saying what is true about just religion here, which is just insane. He's just saying, that lots of different people have their own versions of this, but it's all at the end of the day the same thing, and that is at what we call the Force. Right. Sorry, you were gonna say something. I loved that moment. I'm glad you brought it up.
I know it's really there's some cheesy moments of like, of course he's gonna like put it into the ship. The ship's basically gonna go haywire, but like guide its way through there. I still loved it. There's just something very mystical about it, and like when it's we're taking the Force and we're still keeping it in that mysticism, that fun, that you don't know what's happening, but we're just kind of like letting it guide us through here to see what happens. And I love that. I really do.
What I really like too is that scene is when Chopper has the map out, is when he says that and they're talking about the Force. And it feels like the scene in Attack of the Clones where they have the map out and Obi-Wan is learning, just learning in general, not necessarily about the Force, but Yoda and the younglings are kind of poking fun at him, being like, he's lost a planet. Like it felt similar to that scene, which just feels genuine. And it feels like in this moment, you could mention the hardest thing in your life and everybody would accept you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like. And I really appreciated that. You're right. Legend of Lasat is very, very good. You turned me a little bit here.
Also, Protector of Concord Dawn. It's the first introduction to the Mandalorians that we get, and I kind of wish we had gotten a little bit more or something there, but it really just kind of turned into like, oh, these guys are really good pilots, and we're gonna go down there, take out their ships, and then they're gonna let us through.
Yeah.
But
fleshes out Kanan a little bit, talking about how he fought with the Mandalorians. He's like, look, I met these guys, maybe I can turn them, and then I like Sabine being a lot harder. I like we get the house stuff a little bit, but you're right. You think when you get the Mandalorians, they're going to go there, and they don't really go there.
But
not like in Clone Wars yet.
we do know that they will be like later on in the season they do go there for Ren, and I really like that. Let's see. The Call, I think, was probably the weakest episode of the season.
Yeah.
It was fun though. It was fun. Like even I just think about like that's probably the lowest episode of this season for me. And it's like compared to some of the lowest episodes of Clone Wars that I've watched, it's still
the Forgotten Droid is the episode I think I'm the lowest on in this season.
Forgotten Droid. Oh,
yeah, Chopper recruits the Imperial droid to help. That's a Chopper episode.
It is, but I think there was just something really, I don't know. There was something I kind of enjoyed about the dynamic of them.
To be fair, they're kind of they're playing a little bit off of R2 and C-3PO, but to be fair, the Shroud of Darkness is so freaking good that it's like, why do I want to sit and watch Chopper get a droid buddy when I'm supposed to be finishing this little arc that they have started? Because that really is the start to the end of the season, but they put 2 episodes in between it, and it's a cliffhanger, and it bums me out because I want to get there. But before we get there, do you want to talk about any of these other episodes?
I just going off your Shroud of Darkness, like, oh man, what a great episode that was.
Yeah.
Although now, so Kanan was having the fight with the Jedi Guard, and then
turns out to be the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember, what was Ezra? What were Ezra and Ahsoka doing?
Now Ezra talks to Yoda face to face.
That's right.
Ezra talks to Yoda. I love Yoda giggling away like a little schoolboy. And Ahsoka has a vision of Anakin. Remember, she has the Anakin visions. But I love the fighting with the temple guards.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really good. It shows the mysticism that they really get into in this season, and some we didn't talk about, and maybe I'm forgetting. Oh no, that's in season 3. Al, don't be an idiot. Anyway,
this show takes a hard dive. This show takes a hard dive into the mysticism of the Force.
I love it. I love it
for it. It's so good.
It's too good. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
Whereas Clone Wars, I enjoy it because it focuses on the wars of that time period. One of the things that I love Clone Wars for is that when we're in the middle of fighting, we're seeing people get axed left and right. Clones, droids, all of it are getting axed left and right. And I mean, I do feel as though that if we had more chaff that was surrounding our characters, that we'd probably see them getting aced a little bit more. But so maybe I think that's where that complaint of like Imperial, like a small scrappy band of rebels versus the Imperials, and they're always winning. Whereas in Clone Wars, we're seeing a lot of hits happening on both sides, and that's something that I think the Clone Wars does a little bit better.
Sure.
Boo. Let's see.
Look, Mystery of Chopper Base is great, but I'm ready to talk about the finale with Twilight of the Apprentice Part 1 and 2. I'm ready. I'm tired of not doing it. I'm ready to talk about it. These 2 episodes, and honestly the start of season 3, are so freaking good. Are you kidding me? This is Star Wars at its best. I think these 2 episodes might be my favorite. Honestly, I think you really have to count Shroud of Darkness as a part, really a part one of what this really is.
Right.
It might be my favorite of anything the TV shows have done outside of Clone Wars and Rebels. I love it so much. Darth Maul coming back, and like they don't really try to hide him from us, but man, does Sam Witwer doing just an insanely good job playing him, especially with what he does with the voice at the very start when Ezra first meets him. Ezra is so young and naive that he's quick to join him. There's so much to unpack here. Oh my gosh, it's just too good. They going after the Sith holocron. We get another Inquisitor who just is there. And I don't necessarily, again, enjoy the Inquisitors. They just need more members to fight. But I do like the new Inquisitor had that line where they're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm hunting a shadow." I loved that. I loved it when they finally give their names, and he's like, "My name's Ezra," and he's like, "Well, I don't remember my name." Like they play off of what happened in Clone Wars. Like he is so far gone. His mind has been damaged, brought back. He's lost his legs. He's gotten like 80 new pairs. He's got 8,000 different lightsabers throughout his time. It's just so good. And you talk, because I can't say enough good things about it.
Dude, it's incredible. I mean, like it's the minute you see the connection between Maul and Ezra, as Maul's starting to formulate that idea in his head of oh, you do have the dark side inside of you. I will take hold of you. Oh,
Yeah.
And also, I mean, like it's. I mean, obviously, when he's introduced, Whitmore does an amazing job portraying this like frail old man creature thing. It's like the audience that's like watched all this prior before is like, oh my god. But he just everything to do with Maul in this one, and especially the moment where he's like, yes, I am only known now as Maul. Oh, yeah, so good.
Sees him for the first time, and she's like, "I beat the living crap out of you last time I saw you. You were been taken away by the clones." Like the fact that the last thing she saw was him screaming. What does he say? He says like, "You don't know what's about to happen, or you're all doomed," or whatever. He starts screaming at him.
Right.
And then she's just like, "That's the last time I see this cuckoo for coconuts guy," and now he's back. I love that he's trying to get this weapon. He's still hunting all of his enemies. Doesn't matter who. Still hunting them. Man, it's so good.
That's right. It's not until season 3 that we find out that he finds out that Kenobi's alive.
I can't wait till we get to review that episode.
But anything to do with the Inquisitors, unfortunately, in this one, it's just kind of like, get it out of here. There's nothing that's really happening there, I feel, story-wise.
The Inquisitors are, I mean, they all get killed in these episodes. And I think that they're really there to show how ruthless and powerful Maul still is, I think, because he takes most of them out.
Right.
But honestly, I'm going to transition here. Maul blinds Kanan, and I love it. It is such an incredible moment for his arc, and obviously a lot of that plays into season 3 with some of my favorite of everything they do Star Wars. Mm-hmm. But him getting blind, putting the mask on, and that moment when they're fighting, and even before that, when they first fight, right before he blinds him, did you notice you can hear a little bit of the Duel of the Fates? They kind of mix that in with the score. It's awesome. And they fight, they blind him. I love that he puts the mask on, and then they kind of zone in on him listening, his breathing and everything, that he just really zones into the Force, and then he's able just to knock him off. He's not trying to win, he's just trying to get out. And I love that. I loved that fight so freaking much. It was so good. Kanan getting blind is such a interesting way to take the Jedi that we hadn't seen before, and I love it. But before I get too crazy, chime in,
dude. It does the thing that I look for so consistently, that I'm just dying for. It's like we actually have a physical consequence that happens to one of our like titular characters. It's so good. I don't know. I think it'd also be nice to either see like I don't know, in the episode of like, we get into a fight with the Inquisitor. Oh, Ezra gets his arm chopped off. Now we've got to go get him like a cybernetic limb, or like one of his legs gets chopped off, something like that. But like it finally happens, and the way they handle it just like show like the entire screen just goes red for a moment.
It's like so good. Yes. And I like that it goes red. It doesn't go black. Right. It's like he's bleeding, you know, and it's it's such a great choice by Dave Filoni. And what's great by Kanan, and we'll talk a little bit more about it next week, but he doesn't like lose it in anger in that moment. He stays true to himself and he focuses on the Jedi path. I mean, he was just knighted as a Jedi by the Temple Guards just a few episodes ago, and for him, It's not even a few episodes ago. That just happened. So he's a full-fledged Jedi at this point, and he understands that he can't give into his anger. Just because he lost his eyesight doesn't mean the fight's over. And I love that moment so much. But, I love the design of the temple, everything. Go ahead.
We got to talk about one of my favorite moments happened as Ezra is he's up there talking. The holocron opens and it's the same. It's the voice actor for
it's Ventress.
It's
Asajj Ventress. Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, that is so good.
Agree.
But he was like, "Will you take the power to destroy life?" And he's like, "No, that's not what I want to do.
I want knowledge."
But then the line afterwards is maybe the one approaching will, and you think like, "Oh, is Maul on his way up?" And then you look and you see Vader coming down.
That shot, so freaking good. It is out of a movie. Him flying down on his TIE fighter. I mean, you have to remember, Maul steals the TIE fighter. He is using the Force to move the TIE fighter. Anakin is so ballsy that he wanted to look as cool as possible. He comes in saber blazing, ready to just fight to the death. It is so good, and they tease it at one point, don't they? Somebody like Chopper or something sends a signal, right? And it's like one TIE fighter, right? Like, and that is so great because that harkens to Mandalorian season 2, where it's like a single X-wing is on the way, and it shows how powerful these little Skywalkers are. And I am here for it. Oh my gosh! So that shot, I want on a poster. It is so freaking good. And then he tries to fight him, and Anakin overwhelmingly,
"I'm not afraid of you. Then you will die braver than most."
Yes, it's so good. And he takes him out. Now, I do give a little bit. It's a Vader in this show tends to do the same move. He kind of just does the two-handed thrash. I've noticed quite a bit. But he's still very menacing. He's still Vader. I mean, he's not doing, like, honestly, to this day, the best Vader I think we ever have gotten is, not counting any, like, the intense video games, but it's like, it's got to be Rogue One, where he just mows people down. But in this, when we get to the fight with Ahsoka, and she shows up, Kanan shows up, they take the holocron, Ahsoka shows up, when she does, like, the Naruto run, right? And she does her iconic, blades opening at the same time move. She does the Naruto run, and the way the camera suddenly shifts is I think it works so good. And it is a little daunting at first because you're like, what the heck? Because it's such a drastic wide shot. She like sprints over. She's using force speed. She gets over there, and that fight is so flippin' good. And the fact that Ahsoka, like, she knows this is her master. She knows it, but hasn't yet like accepted it until she does take the mask, cut the mask off,
right,
and sees his eye. And I've seen some people on TikTok have post videos where they change it to blue.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
Do you think that hits better? I actually think I think his eye. Because Lucas made it such a big deal that his eyes changed to this kind of crazy color. Yeah. I think that works a little better than the blue, but I think the blue is kind of a fun thing for fans. But
I think I think I actually like the blue. Just because in that moment, he is not referring to throughout this entire time. He hasn't been calling her Ahsoka. He's just been like, well, You were once the apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, and he is dead. So for me, the moment that he calls out Ahsoka, not in like the quasi Vader voice, but also original Anakin voice, and we get that moment of him being like, no, this is who I used to be at one point. I do, and I would have liked it if it had like turned blue for just a moment, but then went hard back into it. It would have
like one shot of the blue back to her and then back to him, and it's
I'm
back
just
to
saying,
the dark.
well, there was someone did a transition of it because like his pupil dilates when
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
like,
yes. I've seen that.
then you will die. It's it goes wide, and then at that point in time you keep it blue, but then you transition, you do like a gradient transition of like as it starts to dial back in, that it just goes hard orange. Oh god, I would have loved it.
I mean, the moment I still think hits so hard.
Oh,
Him,
100%.
and Ahsoka is not putting up a huge threat to him at first. Like he is taking her out, and she kind of hits him with a cheap shot when he's not really paying attention, and takes the mask apart. And then we get that line, he says her name, Ahsoka, and she pushes Ezra out. And this thing is collapsing, and she's saying, no, I'm going to die here fighting him. And now I'm even an idiot because I remember thinking that she had died, but she doesn't die. She does live. So does he. And that shot, oh my gosh. Well, anyway,
the shot of him coming out of the rubble
looks just like him walking through when he finds all the clones that she had killed and buried at the end of Clone Wars. Like it's such a back and forth, like the way that looks, the wind is blowing there, the wind's blowing here. It is so good and so intense, and it's so important for the characters to think that she's dead. They all think Ahsoka's dead at this point.
Right.
And I mean, even I remember, I never remember that little shot. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but that whole battle, part of me is glad we don't see it. Like we don't see that full fight when it's collapsing. Because I think it plays better in season 4 because something happens in season 4 and we do get to kind of see part of it. But everything in that moment is so freaking good. That is Star Wars at its absolute best. One thing I wanted to touch on earlier, this is way before, it's when they first get to the temple too, and they kind of talk about the Force. They're talking about the Jedi, what happened here. They're not sure if it was Sith or if these were Jedi, and Ahsoka's like, I think it was both. And then Ezra picks up the saber, and we get the first iteration of a hilted lightsaber. And
and then it like starts up and then sputters out.
Yes, he turns it on, and then they pop out, and he's kind of like, "What the heck?" And it shows that these are like they're more ancient than us. And all it made me think of was, man, I wish, because they're having a conversation. This is the past. This is way beyond when Ahsoka's like, this is way beyond when I was a Padawan. Like this is a long time ago when there was a lot of Sith and a lot of Jedi. And I wish when we had gotten to the sequels, that in The Force Awakens, they had touched on that because we knew it was like, okay, Kylo has this hilted lightsaber, and it would have been cool to have a moment where he's like, I did this because I went to that temple, or I guess that temple's obliterated, but he says, I found ancient relics of this was way before my grandfather's time, or my grandfather Anakin's time. Right. Like I wanted a lightsaber like this, and then we'll also get to this. We never got an explanation why the heck his lightsaber is all crackly. We never get an explanation, and I would have rather have had that than get this whole thing about Rey's parents, to be completely honest. I remember sitting there talking for years before The Last Jedi came out of all the theories that like the kyber crystal's cracked, and that's why it crackles, or that he's like kind of in the light, kind of not. Like there was anyway, I'm getting off topic. But but what I think is great is they have that conversation about the times past of the Force and Jedi and Sith. And then when Anakin or Vader is leaving in an incredible shot, we get a shot and a tease of the owl. And the owl flies over him. And the owl we get in Clone Wars as kind of this Jedi, it's kind of this Force watcher. It's part of the Wills.
It only ever happens, though, after the... not the Moraban, the trilogy, the father, son, and the daughter arc.
Yeah.
only after that do we have the owl following Ahsoka. And
Yeah.
someone had gone through and talked about like that is the daughter's, and like that is the daughter's spirit effectively like following Ahsoka now.
Yeah. That
like,
she is, it's her Force ghost, in a way.
Right.
And I remember that whole arc in Clone Wars. I ended up loving or liking. I think if I remember right, I liked it, loved it, liked it again. Like there were parts I didn't like, parts I really liked. But I love that the owl follows Anakin at this point. It's not following Ahsoka. It leaves looking at Vader and looking down at what he has become. And when you do think of that moment from Clone Wars, he is exactly what he was warned about, and then his mind was taken away from. And the only people that knew that are the ones that are dead. And he has become this vengeance force. And I had this moment too, a side thing, when he is fighting Ezra doesn't really put up a fight. And, I said he kind of does a thrashing moment. And all I think about is if Obi-Wan didn't do what he did, think about how really screwed the universe would be, the galaxy would be.
Like,
if this was
over the top powerful.
Yeah, and he's what he's like in his 20s when he becomes Darth Vader for the first time, when he has the fight on Mustafar. Like he's not even like necessarily primed up. I know they talk about him as primed up, but like in terms of your peak physical ability, it's usually in your like late 20s. So he's cut in half fighting. Like if we had if he kills Obi-Wan and he's never mechanically hindered and he's never scarred and deformed, and Anakin can just obliterate people, Ezra's dead within a second. Ezra doesn't stand a chance. Are you kidding me?
So that's an interesting one that you bring up though, because on one hand, I genuinely feel that Vader becoming as powerful as he is, you need the or like as Vader as we see him becoming as powerful as he is, we also need those horrific events that fuel him to become who he does become as Vader. We need his loss, and we need that hatred to just like brew in him, because if there is anything that Vader is that he is hatred incarnate. Like that's all the man is basically running off of by the point in time that he becomes Darth, like that we actually see him take up the mantle and put everything on as Darth Vader.
Yeah, I think
both sides.
I'm with you. I think him getting cut up, he's stuck in this thing forever, definitely adds to his anger, but I still think if he kills Padme, he does kill Obi-Wan, let's say, I think that alone is enough for him to get fueled up by his anger to still get pretty freaking powerful. And it just goes back to my theory that the Force made them a twin, because the son of Anakin Skywalker, the one child of Anakin Skywalker, is too powerful that they had to be split into twins. That's my new theory, and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, back to this show ends so great. And I love that Anakin leaves the temple up top and Ahsoka leaves at the bottom. And it's a good dichotomy, because it makes you think, right? She's leaving as if she like is underneath. She's like there's rubble everywhere. She's going through a corridor.
Ahsoka, well, spoilers for later season, Ahsoka gets sucked through the portal.
But we're not there yet. We're talking about right now. Right now, there's that shot at the end of that episode of the finale. There's a shot of her walking through a door. And they're talking about, and there's overlay. Oh, yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said. I thought she had died, because I thought she had gotten killed. And then in season 4, they do the portal. They play with time. I thought that... I remember that she was killed, but she is not killed. There is a shot of her right after Anakin and the owl flies off. There's a quick shot of her walking through a doorway, like a little corridor.
I'm pulling up the episode right now, and all I see is that the owl flies off. Oh no, you're right.
Oh, I'm right.
There she is. There she
And
is.
what I like is, and correct me if you just looked at the shot, right? She's walking through like a doorway and there's rubble everywhere. And I remember looking at it and it looks like, because he's walking out the top of the temple, she's on the bottom. And what I like is it feels like Anakin won that fight. He's walking out victorious and she is not. In fact, he probably thinks she's dead.
Yeah.
And that's just, I just loved it. I loved it. And yes, because that's what I remember. I remembered her getting killed and that they pull her out with the time stuff, which I can't wait to get to season 4 because I can't wait to talk about that finale.
That's going to be a moment for us.
Yeah. Space whales all day. But the characters think she's dead. As far as they're concerned, our crew thinks she's dead. The world thinks she is dead. The only person that knows she's alive is her. And man, the moment with Rex is so freaking good where Rex sits there and sees, or they have the conversation, Ahsoka didn't make it out. Like him breaking down is so good.
Yeah. What? Wait a gosh darn second. I literally just watched this like moments ago.
What are you freaking out about?
Second. I don't even remember. Rex. Rex like losing it after saying like Ahsoka didn't make it out. Here, I'm watching it. I'm watching it right now.
Yo, live commentary here on Movie Meals. Another happy landing. Yeah, they
don't even say anything. They don't even say anything to him. They just.
He knows.
It's just eyes closed. Yeah.
He knows. I love it. I love that moment.
And then Maul's flying away in his nice new stolen tie advanced.
Darth Maul coming back was such a smart move by Dave and George back in the day. He goes from like an interesting character that it's like, man, he probably should have been the main villain throughout the entire prequel trilogy. Or weird. Then it turns into like, do I want that after how incredible he's used in the shows? Like, do I really had I wanted that? You know what I mean? Like he is so good. And man, Sam Witwer, that man is a talent. Like he does some stuff with his voice in these episodes that are so good with the way he talks to everyone. And I just can't wait till we get to the moment with him screaming Kenobi. I just can't wait.
Kenobi!
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. This is, I'm really curious to see if I'm going to, at the end of all of this, if I'm actually going to rank it above Clone Wars, which I thought I would never say.
I'm going to tell you right now, Clone Wars never did this for me. The second episode, the finale ended, I was like, I have to watch season 3. I have to watch at least the first episode, and I watched the first 3. I didn't do that once with Clone Wars. There was, I think, maybe one. No, I don't remember ever. And I loved some of the finales, but there were never moments I was like desperate to watch it. Like I was like sitting on pins and needles wanting to remember because I couldn't remember what happened. And I really wanted to know. None of that had happened for me right now. And I don't remember how season 3 goes. And so far I love the start of season 3. I can't wait to talk about it.
I'm on episode 6 right now. And
you're ahead of me.
Boy.
All I'm going to say is I love the Bendu, and I can't wait to flesh it out. It's so good. But so if right now, I might have this my favorite of everything we've watched. It might be higher than Revenge of the Sith, which is the top dog. If I have to finish the whole show, because I've got a whole nother season, 2 other seasons, but I freaking love some of the stuff you get in Rebels. This is Star Wars done so right. And I wonder if Dave was kind of hindered by George. Not in a bad way, but like they were hindered by Cartoon Network. George had a lot of, obviously, his influence. And I think I wonder if that, because like I said, I think Dave is starting to see how good he was with Avatar. And I think he understood on that show that is an anime and that animation can, and this goes to George's credit too. George has always been challenging children. He always challenges what they can handle, which I really appreciate. But I think when Dave finally gets free reign, I think in the season 1, he made a really good season, learned from Clone Wars, and still made some stuff for the kids, but then in season 2, I mean, this is just straight up anime. It is anime at its best. It is so good. To the fighting, to the cinematography, everything is so freaking good. I just love it. I want to rewatch that fight, like that last 2 episodes. It's
Right.
so freaking good. But jury is still out. Right now, I might just be riding that high too much. But I loved it, man. This season is awesome.
I'm amazed that you're putting it above Revenge of the Sith. That's what's surprising.
Tentatively thinking about it. I haven't done it yet. We haven't finished. Do the space whales work? That's my question. Right now, I do have it over Clone Wars. Right now, I think it's number 2 through half of the show. But
I'm leaning from the consistency that we get throughout this whole thing.
It's just tighter. Yeah, it really just is.
We have a through line through everything, and it's just a way tighter experience. And yeah, the few high moments in Clone Wars for me, there's like 3 or 2, but like those high moments beat out some of the high moments in this one. But like, God, it's just so good all around, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what's interesting? This just popped in my head, but I remember, and maybe this is just me wanting to trash on Rise of Skywalker. And if you really want to see me trash Rise of Skywalker, go look at my TikTok.
No, I saw that. I saw that one.
Go.
I am not feeling good.
Thank you. But anyway,
so
like
good.
I remember when
if anyone hasn't watched Bo Burnham's special, by the way, go and watch that. Go and watch it.
So in Rise of Skywalker, I remember the biggest thing they just kept yammering about was the group needs to be together. The group needs to be together. They all need to be together. They need to hang out together because that's what they did in the original trilogy all the time, which they really don't. But I like in this that they do the same thing. There's plenty of times they're all together, but for the most part, they're almost never together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the little they are, the second they're all together, they're like, new mission, who's taking it? Like, and I like that they don't make it a big deal. I don't know. Maybe that's just an excuse for me to trash Rise of Skywalker, but I love the way they handle everything. Rise of Skywalker.
Let's be real, Al. You don't need an excuse.
Give Rise of Skywalker some. What?
You get a wrong breeze that hits you, and you're like, Rise of Skywalker, come on!
It's true. It's true. Somebody looks at me the wrong way, and I'm like, Rise of Skywalker fan, huh? But I'll give Rise of Skywalker a little bit of credit. It is cool seeing the ghost when all the fleet shows up, and you get to see the ghost. That is cool.
That's cool.
Could you imagine if they had done a live action Hera, like flying, and they did a cut to her? How cool that would have been. I'm so glad Dave Filoni's now in charge of creative. It's
but like,
so good.
And Rogue One comes out, and then they make the call out of like as they're walking out of Yavin, and you see the ghost, and then they're like General Syndulla, and you're like, why can't we see her? That. Yeah, there's a moment where they call out General Syndulla.
Yeah. That makes me hyped. Are you kidding me? I am so good for Rogue One. I am pumped. Like this, what I like about our rewatch is Rebels is getting me because it goes right up to episode 4. I mean, right up to episode 4. And then we get Rogue One. And Rogue One, I love Rogue One. I know a lot of people don't, that they don't think it flushes out the characters. I'm all for the Magnificent Seven style. I love it. I think it gets me hyped. It's just an awesome battle. And this show, doing this rewatch, is building that up for me. It's like we're fighting so much in this rebellion that the second it's like, oh, we've got a chance to take out this Death Star, let's ride and die. Like, I'm ready. Yeah. Let's go. I love it. It's so good.
It's been such a fun, like, I've always flirted with actually doing like a full watch through of like everything Star Wars, and it's been one of the most fascinating experiments
It's been so fun
to like go through everything in chronological order. It weirdly, and I never would have anticipated this, considering how much I've watched all of this content over and over and over, that at this point in time, with us going through and rewatching everything, how it recontextualizes, how there's all kinds of new and interesting things that I'm drawing from it, or seeing, or finding out about it. It's just incredible that you're able to get as much out of this universe this far along. You know what I mean?
It goes to why I will die on this hill, that I think, and this, I think there's, I think most people would agree with this first statement, that George Lucas is one of the greatest storytellers and has told one of the greatest stories ever. I personally think it's the best story ever. I know every time I say that, a couple friends of ours just go, Lord of the Rings! But I think this is it. Can you tell the energy is just spiked since we've spoken about season 1 to season 2 for me? I've woken up. But he has just told a timeless story, and even though he's bent the rules, he's had to break the rules at times. People have come in and smashed his rules. I'm with you. There's always there's something so special about this story. You can't even put a finger on it. Like, so many people try to. We're getting off topic here, but so many people try to. Dave and Favreau talk about how Mandalorian and what the original trilogy was a story of father and son, and it really hit home for them. But then there's so many people who grew up and it hit home for them because it was more of it was that the hero's journey call to action. It wasn't necessarily the relationships. It was this kid who is nothing is going on this incredible journey. Like that's what so many people want out of life. They want to be the one who gets the call to be the savior. But then there's so many people who, like me, who grew up with the prequels, where they're watching it, looking at this war and a different time, and they're invested in how just cool the sci-fi is. Like, he's created such a unique. Notice I skipped kids with the sequels, but he created just this insane story, and his apprentice, who's now a full-fledged Jedi Knight, and Dave Filoni, has done the best job of telling that story since he has stopped. And you know what? Since we're side tangent chatting here, I've got a point to bring up, a question, I guess, for you.
Yeah.
So I saw this the other day. It was a tweet talking about Star Wars, and it was talking about Dave Filoni and people saying, everybody wanted, or it was like, remember a year ago when everyone in the whole world thought Kathleen Kennedy was going to be out at Lucasfilm, and it just has never happened. And even though Dave Filoni has risen the ranks, she is still in charge. It said people forget that George Lucas didn't sell it to Disney. He sold it to Disney with the caveat of hand picking Kathleen Kennedy. He picked her. And I'm curious, because I know we've ragged on her a bit, but I'm curious just kind of your thoughts on that year journey. You know what I mean? Like from where we were a year ago, because everybody was thinking that. I mean, when we first started this show, however months ago, we talked about it. But like, what do you think where we're at? And we're kind of remembering that George handpicked her. He didn't handpick Dave. He didn't handpick anybody else. He picked her because she's responsible for that movie right there, and that movie right there, and tons of the movies we got from our childhood, E.T., things like that. So what do you think?
Yeah. I do think that there is a vast majority of people that have been exceptionally hard on her. Exceptionally hard. Needlessly hard. Has she made some mistakes that we agree on? That there were some issues in handling of the sequel trilogy? Absolutely. Did she make money for the company? 100% she made money for the company.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you count just money, she hasn't really lost. She's lost once, right? She's had one movie that missed. Everything else made $1 billion.
All that I think that it is taken is her being in the position. You literally have one of the hardest jobs in the world in mounting this one up. Are you kidding? Like, I can't even imagine the pressure that exists on your shoulders to continue the story of Star Wars. Because think about everything and all the people that you have to try and please with this in order for it to be a good story. Has there been mistakes along the way? 100%, but I absolutely believe that she is getting to a point where she's like, okay, I love this universe, but I got to take a step back and let a few other people take the reins on this one. And I let her continue to have some creative input and some like connectivity between all of this. But there's a new, not hierarchy, but like there's a new form that seems to be taking place of like, I'm going to be involved, but I need to let these other storytellers really like take the reins and do their things, make these overarching stories instead of being reactionary. She's learned from her mistakes, and I think we can really see that, especially from recent.
I agree. I think you can really see that she has learned from her mistakes. And I think kind of at the start with her too, she sat back, and anybody who was a big nerd, she probably sat in those meetings and was overwhelmed. She's like, right when JJ came in and pitched the first Star Wars movie and kind of a base outline of what was going to happen, and then Ryan comes in, he's a massive nerd with this stuff. Colin Trevorrow's a massive nerd, and then she made the mistake of doing a DC thing, and I still think Duel of the Fates would have been a much better movie than what we got. I don't know if it would have been perfect, but I think it definitely would have been better than what we got. And she was reactionary with Rogue One. She didn't love everything that was going on. They wanted to be a little more violent. They said no. But Gareth Edwards played ball. And it ended up being a really good movie. And I don't think had she not interfered and they brought in a separate director, I don't think that would have changed. I don't think the movie would have necessarily been this insane, great thing that everybody universally loved. I actually think most people really like it. And I think a lot of people think it's a lot of people's favorites. Solo was a struggle. And we talked, if you really want to hear all about Solo, go check out a couple weeks ago. We reviewed Solo and really get into all the stuff about it. But right. I think she did kind of learn to play ball. She got, I think her not being a massive nerd, at first, everybody was like, that's the problem. She doesn't understand the property. Right? You think of the Sam Witwer story on Solo. Nobody knew, anything of what the timeline was or anything. And I don't think that's the problem. I actually think you need somebody like that, because I think when we saw George, who's the master, he's the creative, when he makes the prequels and no one says no to him, he went too deep into everything. And I think having her as the head now, being able to be like, I don't think that plays well with, fans casually, or this, or it doesn't play well with this. And then Dave goes, well, it does play well chronologically. And then they find a compromise, they change something else, or, and I think her bringing in Dave, and we've talked about it here too, where Dave needed time to grow himself, and John as well. All of that, I think has been good. And side thing I just remembered, and I'm going to keep you here way too long, I'm sorry. I saw an interview, or a quick snippet. It sounds like, and I'm going to say this before I get into that. One of the things she did too is it felt like she was grabbing every shiny new object she could, right? Josh Trank was starting to do really, really great. Hey, you do my gritty Boba Fett movie. Obviously, Game of Thrones is huge. Hey, why don't you do an Old Republic movie, or you do a trilogy or something like that? I still think Dan and Dave would make I think they'd make a great Star Wars trilogy. I really do. Rian Johnson, she signed him on before the movie came out, and apparently his trilogy is still on, and I would still watch it. But then she stepped back and said, let's just kind of, and then, what's the famous story? Like John came in and pitched this Mandalorian idea. Like he had 3 scripts, and she was like, I love it. Let's do it. Like that. I think she realized, hey, I need to take a step back and let everybody kind of come in. But then she does the smartest thing of all. She brings in Kevin Feige to produce a Star Wars movie. And this is the news I'm curious of what you think. but I saw something that says, I believe his name is Luke Waldron, who is the showrunner of Loki. I believe he is involved with Kevin Feige's movie, his Star Wars movie. I don't know if that means he's writing it, because I believe he's been writing for Loki, and I thought he did work on WandaVision as well. Younger guy. But I'm curious what you think about him. We're 2 episodes into Loki. I actually haven't talked to you much about Loki. I know Kyle and I adored the first 2 episodes. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on him being involved as well.
I mean, I need to look at the greater body of his work. What's his name again?
I don't think there's a lot. I believe it was Luke Waldron. I'd have to...
Luke Waldron
or something like that. This is great television right now. Great podcast. Here, Michael Waldron, excuse me. His name is Michael Waldron.
Michael Waldron.
So Michael Waldron, he produced he's producing Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Loki, and he was a producer on Rick and Morty for a long time, including a writer for Rick and Morty for a long time since the start of the show. And then wrote for Loki, and he's going to be working on the Multiverse of Madness, as well as he is working on the Untitled Kevin Feige Star Wars project. That's all he's got.
Okay. So far from what I've seen from what I've seen of Loki, like, let's see it, man. I'm all about it. I mean, I guess I would like to see where the rest of Loki goes. Dude, I'm so lost in that show right now.
It's so good.
I love
it. So good.
But I'm wildly curious to see where it all ends up. But dude, let's see it. I'm all about it. I am so the Kevin Feige still being in. He's obviously not doing like the interconnectivity with Star Wars. But
it looks like Michael is going to write this movie for Kevin Feige and Kathleen Kennedy. It looks like he's the only writer listed on IMDb right now for that film, for the Untitled Star Wars project. I just wanted to point that out, but please continue.
Got it. I mean, what the heck? Let's see it. When do you think it is that we're going to be getting the next Star Wars trilogy?
Trilogy? I don't know. I'm not even sure she wants to do a trilogy right now. I think she wants to just see how because Squadrons is the next movie. I think she just wants to see how that hits. Mandalorian Season 3 isn't going to start filming for a while because they just wrapped, I guess that was news we never touched on, they just wrapped Book of Boba Fett. It's going into post-production, which is going to be interesting. And then the set they built, that crazy, awesome set, because Jon Favreau is also low-key an apprentice to George Lucas, especially with the tech he's built. Right. I think Obi-Wan is using that set for the next foreseeable few months in LA, and then they're going to be doing this, I believe.
Solid.
They need to build more of those. Everybody's going to be using them.
Yeah, I think that is a new section of pioneering technology that we're actually going to see way more in film. Incredible piece of technology. But anyways,
if you haven't seen that, go watch it on the documentary for season 1 of Mando.
I vaguely remember in Mando on that one that they were actually creating some more at that point in time that they were like, this has been so good that we just needed to make more.
I mean, they probably need to.
Considering the amount of shows that they've got coming out.
Yeah. I think for me, it looks like he's written, I got to double check. I just exited IMDb. So Michael is writing Multiverse of Madness, I believe.
Okay.
And he wrote every episode of this, it looks like. Wow. It looks like a couple people might have written 1 or 2, but it looks like he's the showrunner, creator, and head behind this Loki movie. And let me double check Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. So he wrote it with a woman named Jade Haley Bartlett for Multiverse of Madness. So I think that's where I'll die on the sword Right now, I'm tentative that I think him writing that movie for Kevin Feige is a good move. But if Loki ends up being amazing and the Multiverse of Madness ends up being amazing, then I am all in. And if it doesn't, watch Kathy fire him for somebody else.
Oh God, I just want good Star Wars, good Star Wars stories. We have the most amazing skeleton structure to tell any kind of story that we want, and let's go there. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Get away from the Skywalkers. Get away from like all of the stuff that we've known. Give us something interesting, another section of the galaxy during points and times that we know of. Like way back in the past, and tell us some of those.
Or way in the future,
dude.
Go way in the future. Give us the Legend of Rey and Luke Skywalker, I guess is what they would be called, as the Jedi's back. You know, let's see it happen again. Let's see history repeat itself. I don't know what he would come up with. Maybe he'll do something. And, you know, he's such a fan of animation, working on Rick and Morty. You know that he's probably sitting there talking. He's probably known Dave Filoni forever. I mean, just as an animation guy, those guys always seem to know each other. So he probably, you know, is sitting down with Dave and he's like, what if we do a whole thing about this time stuff you made in Rebels? Like, let's really dive into the Force. You know, I don't even care if it takes place during the main trilogy, as long as it's somebody new doing something different and we have little to no connectivity. If like an Obi-Wan pops in, Ahsoka pops in, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, I would like the idea of like a mystic Jedi going after a relic would be so cool. Like an Indiana Jones style Star Wars movie where they go into temples. Like that would be so cool. You know, a heist. Give us bounty hunters doing a heist, not just hunting somebody. You know what I mean? Like actually doing a job, like a real heist movie. That's what Kevin Feige is so exciting, because Kevin Feige has done nothing since Iron Man 2. He has done nothing but change up his genre. He's like, let's do a heist movie. Let's do a space adventure. Let's do it. Let's get really crazy with Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's kill all of our heroes. You know that Star Wars was so nervous with Rogue One. They're like, we can't kill all the heroes. And Kevin's like, excuse me? I'm going to kill all of them. And then we bring them all back. And then they're going to defeat the villain. And they're all like, you can do that? And he's like, I've already done it. That's why him coming in to do a movie is so unique. Not a trilogy, but him doing one movie that's probably going to be so balls to the wall, unique and different. And bringing on a guy like Michael Waldron, who is doing exactly that, which every episode, if you go watch, Kyle and I have our reviews up right now of, for anybody watching, if you haven't, go check out our reviews of Loki season episode 1 and 2, because we talk about how it's just such a change up. It's so different. Loki is so freaking different. And if Multiverse of Madness is going to be like that, then I'm all for him coming in, the two of them coming in and writing a unique Star Wars story that's just cuckoo for coconuts. I think that'd be awesome.
So excited for it, man.
Yeah.
Exciting times in the Star Wars. Yeah, we probably should. Exciting times in the Star Wars universe, man. I'm super stoked about it.
Me too. So, guys, season 2 of Rebels slapped. That's what we were here to talk about. Got off topic. Tanner's got a million things to do. I've got nothing to do. Hence why I forced him to stay on too long. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks to Movie Meal patrons. Go get some merch. I'm wearing some right now, guys. Kyle and I dropped our new logo, new design. It's all available right now. It looks amazing. So go check all that out. And for another happy landing, we are out of here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.